Hi everyone. Today we're going to be looking at a shipwreck on the Great Lakes that is not the Edmund Fitzgerald, but rather a ship that met a fiery doom, a passenger ship, and one of the grandest that ever graced the Great Lakes. Today we're going to be looking at the Noronic is burning. Now this beautiful ship, at 365 feet long, was built in 1913 and was the flagship of the Canada Steamship Lines. This beautiful vessel, just take a look at any of the photos online, there's plenty there, will show you that it had opulent interiors that were beautifully done in the Victorian style with elaborate decorations and fittings. Now, the Noronic, or Noronic, tomatoes, depending on your pronunciation, was a fixture of the Great Lakes for almost 3 decades. Completed in 1914, the ship survived the Great Depression, the vicissitudes of a changing set of traffic conditions on the Great Lakes, but by 1949, not only was the ship a little long in the tooth, but it ended up being incinerated by a terribly tragic fire. The fire itself is covered in this book by John Craig, published in 1976, and to my knowledge it is the only book that deals with the tragedy. It is overdue for a complete history of this ship, as there's plenty of photographs out there. There's in the archives plenty of first-hand accounts of those who travelled, and it would be fantastic to have the full history of this ship brought back into the maritime literature. But in terms of its unfortunate destruction, this book offers a gripping account of what happened, a minute-by-minute analysis of how the fire started and the unfortunate circumstances that led to over 100 people unfortunately dying. This book does not skimp on the gory details, unfortunately. There are some graphic photos in there which show the level of destruction, and when you compare those to the before and after shots, it makes some harrowing viewing to just understand how intense the fire was. Being written in 1976, the accounts have a vividness and a reality to them that makes you feel that you are there, watching the fire and basically feeling the ship burn and sink under your feet. But, as with any disaster, there are many questions that have yet to be answered. In particular, what was the captain doing away from the ship and enjoying a dinner with a younger lady? Could be completely innocent, but the point is, what was the captain doing not being on board the ship? And why were safety procedures not followed accordingly? One sticking point that is raised in this disaster is that not a single crew member passed away, and all the fatalities were passengers. What happened? Why did the discipline on board break down the way it did? For those who are interested in understanding how such a terrible tragedy can happen, this is highly recommended. As I noted earlier, the writing style is immediate, and you feel that you are there on the Noronic as it is burning and sinking, and you feel the terror of these poor confused passengers as they're trying to escape from the ship. But again, after almost 50 years, it's about time that historians take another look at this disaster, check out the archives, and try to bring another look at why this disaster actually happened in the first place. So, check it out. But, having said that, I also just want to highlight one other one. Being a fixture of the Great Lakes for 30 years, the Noronic also tends to be included in a mixture of other books, such as this one, which covers various ships on the Great Lakes. And what is interesting about the chapter of the Noronic in this book is that not only did the author have memories of the ship there, but he also discusses some memories from other travellers who all refer to the Noronic as the Nori. And if you're wondering about what on earth the name stands for, well, he explains it right here. So, it was in honor of a merger. The letters NO represented the Northern Navigation Company, the letters RO stood for the Richelieu and Ontario line, and the NEC for the traditional name-ending letters for all the passenger liners of the Northern Navigation Company. And those three companies that were just mentioned were all merged to form the Canada Steamship Lines, upon which the Noronic then sailed for the rest of its career as the flagship thereof. And let me show you a quick photo. So this is one of the high points of this particular book, and at least you can see how the Noronic looked in its glory days. So there you have it. A terrible fiery disaster from the Grand Lady of the Lakes, the burning of the Noronic. And as always, if there are any other ships or disasters or anything else that you see around here that you'd like me to review, please let me know in the comments below. And as always, enjoy and happy reading.